What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Ah, yeah, what's going on, everybody? It's me, the SKI to the double TLES, Skittles in the hizzy, and I'm ready to tell you what's up. Today, we are talking about being obedient. So every time somebody asks you, what's up, you tell them. Stick with God and you won't miss the boat. Some people, they think they don't have to obey God. They think they can live by their own set of rules. I'm my own boss. I don't have to listen to nobody. But that's not how God wants us to be. No way. He wants us to live by His plan for our lives. If we obey God and stick to Him, we will never go wrong. So anytime somebody asks you, what's up, you tell them. Stick with God and you won't miss the boat. And that is what's up. I got a rainbow of flavor and I'm living for my Savior. Skittles out, baby. Hey, peeps, what's up? Stick with God and you won't miss the boat.
Hi boys and girls, Pastor Karina here. Today's Bible story is found in the book of Genesis, chapters 6 and 7. God was saddened by all the sin that was going on in the world, so He decided to destroy the world with a flood. He searched the world to find someone who was righteous enough and living for Him, and He found a man named Noah. God spoke to Noah and said, I'm going to destroy the earth and everything in it. So I want you to build a giant boat to take your family along with you, with 2 of every kind of animal in the boat. When the flood comes, I will keep you safe. Noah had never seen a flood before, so he didn't know what to think. He didn't know how in the world that he was going to build such a huge boat, big enough to hold 2 of every kind of animal in the world. Besides that, how was he going to get all those animals to get into the boat? All of these thoughts most likely went through Noah's mind, and it was probably the hardest thing he had ever had to do. But guess what, boys and girls? Noah obeyed God. He and his 3 sons began to gather tons of wood and began to build a giant boat. It took them many months to chop down the trees, cut the boards, hammer them together, and set the cracks in the boat. Then the day came when it was time to get all the animals in the boat. Noah wasn't sure how he was going to do this, but he didn't have to do anything. God spoke to the animals, and they began to show up 2 by 2. Elephants and giraffes and donkeys and bears and every kind of animal in the world. Then the day came when God spoke to Noah and He said, take your family into the ark. In a few days, I will send rain upon the earth and it will be destroyed. Noah listened and he took himself and his family into the ark. People thought that they were crazy. No rain had come and they were inside of this giant boat. But just as God promised, the rain began to fall from the sky and the earth, it began to flood. Noah and his family were protected because Noah obeyed God even when it was hard. In our lesson today, we're going to learn that when you obey God, it's always worth it.
Hey guys, Pastor Steve here, and we're continuing with our lesson today called Don't Miss the Boat. And you just heard the story from Pastor Karina about how God provided for Noah and his family in the midst of what was going to be a huge storm and a huge flood. God gave him plans to build an ark so that he and his family could be safe. I want to ask you guys a question. Are you guys afraid of storms? Do storms scare you? I mean, I know when I was little, I got a little scared when I'd hear the thunder and the lightning, and I've always loved the rain, but when it's raining super hard or it's super windy, all those things can cause us to be afraid because storms can be scary sometimes. You know, Noah was faced with what was going to be a huge storm, something that the world had never seen before or since, where the entire earth was going to be flooded for 40 days and 40 nights. It was going to rain, it was going to storm, it was going to be crazy. But God said, you know what, Noah? You love me, you live for me, and you're a righteous man, and I want to save you and your family. And so God gave him special instructions, special plans to build an ark that would save not only he and his family, but also 2 of every kind of animal. And that's exactly what Noah did. Could you imagine being in the ocean and having to swim for over 40 days? Because not only did it rain for 40 days and 40 nights, but it took a while for the floodwaters to come down. So could you imagine being in the ocean where it's windy and it's raining and all this stuff, trying to swim for 40 days and 40 nights? Without that ark, Noah and his family would have been in big trouble, wouldn't they? It's impossible. There's no way that anyone could swim for that long. Over 40 days and 40 nights, about a month and a half. Can you believe that? See, guys, the thing is that when we face storms in our life, and I'm not talking about storms like the wind and the rain and thunder and lightning. I'm talking about things in our life, like storms in our life that are really hard times. When we are obedient to God, when we live for Him, He's going to provide safety in our lives just like He did for Noah and his family. Because it's inevitable, guys. We will face storms, times that are really, really hard in our life. And that's our first point, is that when we obey God, we find safety. And you're saying, well, what storms? What are you talking about? Well, we're all going to face storms, difficult times in our lives. Maybe it's you just feel like everything is going wrong around you. Maybe you feel like someone is being mean to you or picking on you. Maybe they really are. Maybe someone in your family is sick or dying. Maybe your parents are going through a really hard time and they're talking about getting a divorce. Maybe you just feel lonely. You know, there's so many different storms that we are going to face in our life. And just like the ark provided shelter for Noah and his family during the storm, God provides shelter for us when we go through those storms of life. He will protect us, but we need to obey God. And that's when we find our safety. So here's another question. What do you do when it's storming outside? I know some kids, they'll run and they'll get in their bed and they'll put their comforter or their blanket over their head and they'll hide underneath their comforter. You know what the comforter is that big bedspread you put on your bed. But it's kind of funny, isn't it? It's called a comforter because it gives you comfort, right? That's like what God's going to do. He's going to send His Holy Spirit to wrap you up just like that big old blanket, that comforter, and give you comfort in the midst of whatever storm you're going through. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I think it's pretty cool. Here's the second point. When we obey God, we experience miracles. You know, just like we talked about, it would be impossible to swim in the ocean in the middle of a storm for over a month, for 40 days and 40 nights. Battling the waves and the wind and the rain and everything else, and trying to have the strength to keep your head above water, to stay afloat. Impossible. Could not have happened. Noah did not have the strength to do that. Neither did his family or anyone else for that matter. But God provided a miracle. And you're like, how did He provide a miracle? He provided the ark. You might be saying, but Noah built the ark. Yeah, he did build the ark, but God spoke to him and showed him that He was going to destroy the earth because of the evil in the world. And here is the safety plan. Here is the way out, Noah. I need you to build an ark. And Noah, again, he obeyed what the instructions that God gave him. He didn't have the strength to do it on his own, but God provided a way. And that's really what a miracle is where God provides the way where we don't have the strength or the way, any way of doing it ourselves. God provides it. Maybe your miracle is that you feel peace because one of your family members is sick. You can just have a peace about it. Maybe it's that God will heal them. Maybe if you're being bullied at school, it's somebody that comes alongside you and is your friend and supports you and helps you. Whatever it may be, there's so many ways that God provides miracles in our lives, and oftentimes we don't even see it. God is a miracle working God. You know, guys, no matter what the situation is, no matter how big the problem is, no matter what the storm of life is that we're facing, God is bigger and God can provide a miracle. In Matthew 19:26, it says, humanly speaking, it is impossible, but with God, everything is possible. When we obey God, He will do miracles in our lives and He will protect us from every storm that we face. Here's the third and final point, guys. Is when I obey God, I rise above the storm. See, when we obey God, when we follow Him and His commands, we will rise above any situation that we're facing. Any storm of life that we're facing, we'll rise above it. Because we know that God is working on our behalf. God is working in us and through us. It's not going to pull you down into whatever that is. He's going to help you rise above it. You know, the ark wasn't a submarine, was it? It didn't go underwater. It rose above it. It rose above the storm. And that's what God will do for you too. He will help you rise above it. The ark rose above the storm or the flood, and He'll help you do the same. Kids, we know that God has an incredible plan for your life, but it all starts with obeying Him and obeying His word. When we obey God, God will do great things in you and through you, and He will help you through any storm that you'll ever face. We just need to make sure that we don't miss the boat. We'll see you next week, kids. Have a good week.